Welcome to the Saints Sports Corner. Today, we're going to be analyzing the Saints draft. The Saints made quite a few picks in the 2025 NFL draft. How does that draft class stack up? Was that draft class good enough? We're going to find out right here on the Saints Sports Corner. Let's dive right in. The anticipation for the 2025 NFL draft for the Saints was massive. Everybody wanted certain picks. Everybody wanted a quarterback. Everybody wanted running backs, wide receiver. We got a multitude of things. Some of the things we had got in the draft class, some of the things we didn't. Most importantly, though, we did get a quarterback. But was it the quarterback we were all expecting? If you said you expected the Saints to draft Tyler Shuck, you're probably lying. Tyler Shuck wasn't on anybody draft boards pre-draft season for the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints were late. I'm not gonna say we're late, but the New Orleans Saints fans were late to Tyler Shuck. Tyler Shuck, I didn't even see a mock draft when nobody drafted Tyler Shuck. I was surprised. Like, I thought they was going Shedeur Sanders 9, but when Jalen Walker was right there and Kelvin Banks, I'm like, they gotta go Jalen Walker. We've been in the pass rusher for like 5-6 years. Passed on Jalen Walker. So let's talk about that. We finally get close to a pass rusher. We finally get a pass rusher. And not only do we finally get an opportunity for a pass rusher, and not only do we pass on them, our rival, the Atlanta Falcons, get him. You cannot make this stuff up. Like, we was right there. Like, he was top 5 on most people's draft boards. He was a pass rusher, fiery, relentless, physical, everything you wanted. Most mocks, he wasn't even making it to the Saints. And we get right there and we pass on and we take Kelvin Banks. That doesn't mean Kelvin Banks was a bad pick. That doesn't mean that. But Jalen Walker, Kelvin Banks, you're going to go Jalen Walker. He's the pass rusher. Yes, we got to protect the quarterback, but what quarterback? We don't even know what quarterback at that moment. We don't even know what quarterback we're protecting. And we take Kelvin Banks. Not that he's a bad player. Not that he won't be a Pro Bowl player. I hope he be a Pro Bowl player, being that we took him at 9. So let's just dive in what I was thinking. We on the clock, and I got my notes right here. We're on the clock. These are the guys I'm looking at, and these are the guys that we discussed. We discussed Tyler Warren. We discussed Jalen Walker. We discussed who else? Jahdae Barron, right? These are guys that was in that cloud that we thought the Saints would go after. The Saints take a tackle. And I'm all for building it up front first. But I didn't see it there. I didn't see the value there. Does that mean I can be wrong? Absolutely, that means I can be wrong. But Kelvin Banks at number 9? Y'all tell me. I don't know. Leave it in the comments. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. But Mickey Loomis said they will take the highest rated players on the draft board. Who had Kelvin Banks higher than Jalen Walker? How many people had that? I don't even know if Mickey had that. Maybe they did reach for the tackle. Maybe they did. I don't know. But let's talk about round 2. Round 2. Tyler Shuck. The Saints take Tyler Shuck at 40. Quarterback who I have a lot of questions about. Not because he doesn't have any ability, because he can throw it, he has the arm angles, he have all that, but that doesn't mean anything. So does Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler has those same arm angles. He has The same talent. He could spin the ball. He's not as big, can't see over the line like Tyler Shuck can, but doesn't mean anything. Anything. Tyler Shuck is 26 years, is going to be 26 when the season starts. You might as well keep Rattler because if we're being honest, Rattler had the better college career statistically. You cannot debate that. Rattler had the better college career. So the only way I see Tyler Shuck starting over Spencer Rattler, if Kellen Moore said this is the guy, it's not going to be a quarterback competition. Jake Hanner, Spencer Rattler is battling for QB2, and that's it. But I firmly believe, and I will stand corrected, that if they're given the actual equal opportunity, that Spencer Rattler will win the starting quarterback job. And I don't think he's going to give it up. With a healthy O-line, with an O-line that's protecting, he can scramble. He can do all the things that Tyler Shuck do. And he's probably better. So with a healthy O-line, I don't think Spencer Rattler gives up that job. The only way Spencer Rattler loses the job is it's not a competition to begin with. Tyler Shuck had one really decent statistical season in college for Louisville. He's been injured 3 times. He's been in college for 7 years. This guy was the teammate of Jawan Johnson. I'm sure all of you know that. So I'm looking at the pick based on what we actually had on the board at that time. And there was a plethora of talented, again, the same way we had a ton of talent on the board with the first round pick, we had a ton of talent on the board with the second round pick. We're talking about Trey Amos. We talking about Trey Harris. We talking about Will Johnson. We talking about Demetrius Knight. We talking about all of these players. We had a Mike Green, another pass rusher that actually fits a 3-4 scheme. We had all of these players on the board, and we reached for Tyler Shuck. I'm sure we could have got Tyler Shuck in the 3rd round. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I'm sure we could have gotten this guy in the 3rd round based on the talent that we had that was on the board. Once again, 2 picks straight, I feel like the Saints reached on a player. Now, I get it. If you like a player and you're high on the player, you go get that player. But the players they were getting, nobody had them that high. And the people that did still passed over. Cleveland could have took Tyler Shuck if Tyler Shuck was like that. Think about that for a second. Teams like the Raiders could have took Tyler Shuck if Tyler Shuck was really like that. I mean, it's one thing to take a quarterback who has potential. It's another thing to take a quarterback who has potential and an injury history. Like, you don't know how good your line is actually going to be, and you take a quarterback who has an injury history. I don't understand that for one bit. And not only that, I don't think he's better than Spencer Rattler. That's my opinion. I know everybody wants to be optimistic about it, but is he really better than Spencer Rattler? Can you say that head and shoulders above his he's better than Spencer Rattler? You can't say that. Spencer Rattler had a better college career than Tyler Shuck, and a shorter college career, and he's younger. So the only way, in my opinion, that Tyler Shuck can actually beat Spencer Rattler for the quarterback job is if Kellen Moore says, this is my guy, he's starting on opening day. Everybody else is competing for the backup spot. That's the only way. How else is he going to be out Spencer Rattler? Spencer Rattler, he's going into year 2. Most young quarterbacks have a bigger jump from year 1 to year 2 if they didn't have success year 1. And most quarterbacks who have success year 1 usually see a small decline in year 2. Well, Spencer showed us some things with an awful roster, and now you're going to give him all the healthy players back and then expect him to give up a job, even though he's not Kellen Moore's guy. Expect him to give up a job to a rookie who he's younger than, have just as much talent, if not more? with a better offensive line, projecting being that you got Kelvin Banks in the first round? I don't know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let me know. Let me know if I'm tripping. I'm only making logical statements based on the facts. This is not based on opinion. Based on the facts. I can't tell you if Spencer Rattler is going to go in. Tyler Shuck is going to go in and be head above heels over Spencer Rattler. We can't say that. We can't say Spencer Rattler is going to be head above heels over him. But based on what we got, the facts, right now Spencer Rattler is the better quarterback. You can't deny that. You got to be crazy if you do. Look at the film. He wasn't better than Shedeur Sanders. He didn't put up the numbers Dylan Gabriel put up. He didn't put up the numbers that 70 or 80% of these quarterbacks put up. He didn't even put up the numbers Quinn Ewers put up. Quinn Ewers was supposed to be a first-round draft pick. Tyler Shuck didn't put up those numbers. And he got drafted in the 7th round. So you mean to tell me you drafted a guy who didn't put up the numbers Quinn Ewers put up? And then you say he's going to be your starter just because he could throw a football? He's a quarterback. He's supposed to be able to throw the football. Can he do a few more things than other quarterbacks can? Yes, he can. But a lot of guys could do that. Ryan Mallett could do that. Jamarcus Russell could do that. There's plenty of guys who can spin that thing. But it didn't amount to anything because it takes more than that to be a quarterback. Right? So I'm just going to leave it there when it comes to Tyler Shuck. We're going to continue to analyze this draft and break it down. And break it down with other options that was on the board for the Saints. Because we want to see what the Saints drafted. And we want to be honest about it. What the Saints drafted opposed to what was on the board. And the things I thought when it came to who was the better players on the board. Right now, the Saints are 0 for 2 when it comes to being the better players. In my opinion, they're 0 for 2. So we'll have more of that when we come back on the Saints Sports Corner. So let's dive into the 3rd round where the Saints take a defensive tackle, potentially a nose tackle, Vernon Broughton, and Jonas Sanker, a safety. Okay, decent picks. Is it the right picks? Once again, I'm only analyzing based off of the value that I had on players, based off the value the Saints had on players, and coupled with the value that experts had on players. Now, Vernon Broughton and Jonas Sanker, 2 guys who can be contributors. The problem with it is Vernon Broughton was brought in. We just traded for Gacho. We trying to find somewhere for Brian Breesy to play, right? Correct? We also got Bink. We also got, what's the guy name, man? The defensive tackle, I forgot. Don't worry about it. But there's another defensive tackle we got. Can't think of the name. I'm running the crapshoot. But there's another defensive tackle we got that we picked up from the Jets. Okay, so we have a bunch of defensive tackles that obviously you can cut one and you're running a 3-4, you're switching schemes. But who plays defensive end? Who stands up? And I get that the 3-4 defense, it's changed now. It's not as basic 3-4-2 linebackers, 2 Russian outside linebackers, a defensive end, in the nose. I understand that they changed it now, and flexibility is key. You got people playing different things, which I think the Saints defensive line can with Granderson and, Granderson, and you have Cam Jordan, and you have these guys. I know for a fact that these guys could interchange. Cam is a little bit older in the tooth, but I know they can interchange when it comes to positional flexibility. But if you're drafting a defensive tackle, you're leaving meat on the bones. Let me read this to you. I wrote this down, and I had to write this down because once again, we have positions of need that we needed to address, and we didn't address those positions. And guys that the Saints brought in that could have actually filled some. More importantly, let's talk about cornerback. Shavon Revel is on the board on the 3rd round. Think about that for a second. Not only is he Jalen Noel, there's the big body wide receiver, right? Kevin Winston Jr., Savion Williams. Here's the offensive tackle, Charles Grant, you could have got to compete with Penning. Or he could have played guard, and then you could have found your tackle next year. And you didn't even have to pick that player in the 1st round. Now, for me, not for you, but for me, I'm going to be looking at Charles Grant and Kelvin Banks' careers closely, seeing who is the better player. Because if Charles Grant becomes a Pro Bowler and Kelvin Banks becomes a okay starter, you reached. Again, that's 3 rounds I feel like the Saints reached on players. As a fan, I hope they hit. But right now, the draft fell in their lap perfectly. They could have had an A+ draft, in my opinion. To me, it's a C- draft. Because I felt like they kept reaching. I feel like the Saints kept reaching. Maybe it's just me. Jonas Sanker could have had Kevin Winston Jr., a more rangier. He's not as hard hitting, but he can play the pass better. But he also deliver hard hits, right? I'm looking at this and I'm like, there's no way. But I digress. Let's go to the next round. So the Saints don't have a 5th round pick. The Saints don't have a 5th round pick, but in the 4th round, they take 2 guys that I like. Quincy Riley, a big body corner. We needed that. So they do get an instinctive corner, ball hawking corner. All right, that's good. Teammates with Tyler Shuck, right? And they get Danny Stuntsman, a meathead. And what I mean by meathead, hit anything that moves, right? 4th round. I feel like their 4th round was their best round of the draft. Danny Stuntman from Oklahoma, and you get Quincy Riley. That's not bad. I got no comments for that. We could go ahead on and move to the 6th round. Because, you need a corner. Demario Davis is getting older. Barring any injury, you're going to need another thumper. We see that we're thin at linebacker. So who's better to come in if Demario Davis have an injury and just fill that gap nicely? Young body. We need that. There's no arguing with that. Okay. Let's go to the 6th round. Devin Neal. My favorite pick of the draft. Baby AK is what I'm calling them. Move the same, balance the same, read it the same, got the same type of wiggle. Not exactly the same. He's not as fast as AK. But man, oh man, oh man. It's almost like watching Jamar Gibbs and AK in the backfield just without Jamar Gibbs' speed. We're the same type of turf sleeves, everything. Like, Devin Neal probably will be the best pick in this draft. I don't know what Kendra gonna do. He can't stay healthy. But he probably is gonna be the best pick in this draft. Devin Neal. That's probably the best value. This is probably better than I thought he was going to be a 4th round pick, 3rd round pick. Honestly. The fact that a guy who rushed for 3,000 yard seasons and had a 1,000-yard season plus 16 touchdowns last year and tore Colorado ass up is on the board for you at the 6th round. We don't even got to discuss that one. Devin Neal. We don't even got to look at the players. But just in case, I put Steele on the card and Jalen Reed, another safety. But we're not going to argue that. When we come back, we'll quickly discuss the 7th round of the NFL draft on the Saints Sports Corner. Welcome to the Saint Sports Corner. Let's dive right back in. Let's finish this thing up on the high note. Let's finish this thing up so that you guys can leave your comments and tell me, am I tripping? So, once again, 7th round, we take a tight end from UCLA. Let me make sure I pronounce this right. Molokai Matavo? Molokai Matavo? Is that his name? I don't know how to pronounce it right. I'll figure it out though. I get it. But Kobe Bryant, Ricky White, Antoine Wells, and Andrew Armstrong is on the board. Now, I know Andrew Armstrong had a bunch of concerns. So Ricky White does go, in all fairness, he goes to Seattle. Would have been a slam dunk pick. But Andrew Armstrong, Antoine Wells is not a big one, but he catches passes over the middle like a big body. And he's kind of got that Debo in him. But to pass on Andrew Armstrong when your 7th round pick, you get another tight end? Come on, Saints. Andrew Armstrong is probably a 5th round pick. He has character concerns. The Saints need some bad boys in the locker room. The last bad boy y'all had in the locker room, y'all was going to NFC Championship games with Michael Thomas. Yeah, he had an attitude, all of these other things, but he was a dog. And Lord knows the Saints need as many dogs as they could. And you pass up on these guys for a tight end who's probably going to be majority a big blocking tight end. Cool, I get that you want to run the ball. That's cool. That tells me that you're going to have a young quarterback behind center. Makes sense. But does this guy even get drafted? And this is not a shot at the tight end or none of that. I'm just saying, you might could get him as an undrafted free agent. Obviously, you could get Andrew Armstrong as an undrafted free agent because he went undrafted. But come on. Are we trying to win? Or what are we trying to do? So you had 2 rounds, the 4th round, and you had the 6th round where you got 3 players that you look at the tape and you're like, that guy's going to be a contributor day one in some way, shape, or form. Devin Neal, Quincy Riley, Stuntsman. But most of the draft class, 70%, all guys that's overdrafted. So if you're saying take the best player available and that's your best player available, I get it. But at the same time, it's just not lining up. So they better hit. This is going to be another draft where they took a lot of players and they had a bunch of picks and the draft fails. The Saints have been sucking at the draft the last few years. That's a fact. It's not an argument. So I'm hoping that they see something that we don't or I don't, and that these picks are going to be big time quality contributors for years. I'm hoping it's one of them 2006 drafts, I'm hoping it's one of those. But right now, paper doesn't look likely. So 1st round, I'm going to say we had a B. 1st round pick's a B. 2nd round pick, I'm going D+, because we really just don't know. And it ain't about his talent. It's about, is he going to stay healthy? Let's screw the talent for a minute. If he plays, is he going to stay healthy? Can he sustain the hits of faster, more physical grown men? We don't know. 3rd round picks, I'm giving that a C. Just based on the depth we already had with those players. Not the safety position in Jonas, but the defensive tackle position. 4th round. I'm going to get at a B also. That's one of the best rounds. 5th round, we didn't have a 5th round pick. 6th round, I'm giving that an A+. Devin Neal was a slam dunk A+. Right? 7th round, I'm giving that a D-. You could have got a young, big body guy in. You keep bringing in, even in the undrafted free agents. A lot of these guys are fast guys, right? We're going to find out. But after this podcast episode, I'm going to do another podcast episode breaking down the difference between Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. I hope you join me on the next episode of the Saints Sports Corner. Thank you.